All right. It looks like we are live. I am coming to you live from on YouTube and LinkedIn. So anyway, drop a chat in there. Say hello. And yeah, this is the first time I'm doing this. So fun times. Done it on Facebook many times, but never on LinkedIn. And I'm really excited. So anyway, let me jump in and get started. I'm going to just keep going through this, not wait for people to join. But so who am I? So I am Claire Bond, and I help my clients maximize their authority and influence to accelerate business growth and gain recognition. So I've helped thousands of people just like you elevate their personal brand to become an authority in their market. And early on, I learned how to build my brand and how to transform it into a successful business. And that's why entrepreneurs and high achieving executives and CEOs come to me to help them build winning personal brands. So, and I'm going to be sharing some secrets, things that I've learned along the way with you. So that is where we are. So I'm hoping that this is live and that, Jay's there. Hey, Jay. All right, cool. So I'm live and it looks like things are good. All right, so let me just go and dig in to the details. So hopefully, let me just reintroduce myself since I think a couple of you have recently joined. So I'm Claire Bond and I help my clients maximize their authority and influence to accelerate business growth and gain recognition. So I want to help you by giving you tips and things that I've learned along the way. So what we're going to be talking about today is what is the ROI on your personal brand. This is one that a lot of people they really struggle with it. And I don't, those negative naysayers, those negative Nellies, when they kind of come at you and they're like, well, I don't see the purpose of it. It's so stupid. I don't want to be on social media and blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm talking to you and we are going to talk about the ROI that you can have on your personal brand and why it is important. So I want to kind of talk about all of that sort of stuff. And one of the things we're going to be talking about really is what is your personal brand. So one thing that I like to say is that, so the dictionary of brand, they say that a brand is a person's perception of a product, service, experience, or organization. Okay. Basically, a person's perception of a product, service, experience, or organization. So if you think about that as your personal brand, it's how you are perceived by others. It can be so many ways. It could be how you're perceived online, whether it's a Google search or people seeing your videos or whatever it is, or if you're at a networking event, how you're actually seen and perceived by other people. If you're speaking, there's so many ways that you're kind of combine to make one's personal brand. So that's a really good way to kind of describe it. So therefore, your personal brand is not your logo. It is not your brand identity and all the fonts and all those little sexy things that you think about and the color that you use. It's not your mission statement or your bio. It's not your website. It's not your LinkedIn profile. It is the combination of all of it, not just one single thing. I always think about everything as being an omni-channel approach to your personal brand. So I definitely, I always think that you need to be thinking omni-channel rather than single channel. Okay, so let's say you're an entrepreneur, influencer, or you work for yourself. Your business is built on your reputation and expertise. So I know some of you may want to build your personal brand for job security or to get ready for another job. So that's something that your personal brand can do for you. One way to look at your personal brand is what is the underlying factor or factors that will ultimately make someone choose to work with you, hire you, buy your product, whatever it is. That's ultimately what your personal brand is and kind of what the ROI that you can expect from your personal brand. So why should you even care about this? Why is this really even important to you, right? Because if you are a business owner or an entrepreneur, 88% of customers will do research before they purchase. 88%. So who's the best? Who are the, what are ratings and reviews? Who's the most known person in this space, et cetera, et cetera. So, and any other supporting info. So I would much rather do my research on a company than, buy straight off an ad, right? So think about if brands that you might, we all see targeting, right? So brands that are retargeting to you, sometimes you may have seen an ad and it was interesting, and then you looked them up and you're like, I don't really want to work with them, and they keep retargeting to you. Sometimes it can actually be a brand and you just don't want to buy or work with them at that moment, but then eventually it'll work. So ultimately, it's how someone feels about you and whether they want to work with you or not. Because more than likely, someone's not just going to click an ad and buy. That just doesn't really happen. Unless, of course, it's like Amazon and then you're like, okay, that's a good idea. But you trust Amazon because they have a great brand. Well, I guess that's negligible, but or up to the eye of the beholder. All right, so then if you are looking for job security, you want to get another job and all of that sort of stuff, your online presence, LinkedIn, everything is going to be so important because recruiters are going to be digging deep. They're not just going to look at your resume and just be like, oh, this person's great. They're going to do their research, and you really don't want them to find anything bad. Okay, so think about what your online presence says about you, and not only if there's something bad, but what great things can you showcase so that someone will want to hire you. Again, it's the same as a business. What are they going to find out about you? Are you the best one for the job? They're going to be comparing you to other job applicants. Who's the best one? Who showcases their expertise? So that's ultimately what your personal brand can do for you, and ultimately how it can hurt you if you've done nothing. All right, so ideally you would want to be the top one for a job search because you are kicking ass and taking names with your personal brand. You're constantly talking about your expertise. You're sharing your expertise. You're doing lives. You're doing all this sort of stuff. And someone's like, wow, this person is the only choice for this job. And at the very least, I'm going to call them in for an interview. So that is what your personal brand can do for you. And if you're a business owner, your personal brand, people want to buy from people. They don't want to buy from this faceless entity that spouts, information to people and saying, I'm an expert and this kind of thing. Let me give you an example. One of my other companies is called Online Profile Pros. And for a very long time, Online Profile Pros was faceless. Nobody knew that I was a CEO and that I had a co-founder. We never really talked about it because we're business owners, and essentially the company is a network of profile writers, photographers, and dating coaches, LinkedIn profile help. So we basically help people with their online profile for LinkedIn and dating. So I never put my face out there because I thought, well, they don't want that. They want to find an expert and they want to buy. So I'm sitting here doing this and I'm like, I'm telling people that they need to be the face, but I'm not the face. If you go to the website now, onlineprofilepros.com, I'm the face. And I basically have a statement there saying, I'm the CEO and this is what I want my company to do for you. Because I know that people will sell a service, not a faceless entity that just basically says, here's what we do, this faceless online profile pros. So I know from experience that putting your face in, at the forefront of your business can really help with sales. So I always practice what I preach. All right. So when you are doing a search on a particular service or a particular candidate, ultimately what you would love to do is have somebody to find a blog that you wrote, a social media post that you did, a YouTube video that you did that basically solidifies that you are the expert. So for the rest of these examples, I'm going to talk as if you are a business owner. So ultimately, you want someone to find your content that solves a problem that they're currently having, right? So whatever it is, I really need to know how to make a personal brand statement. I'm going to do a Google search. I find a blog that I did. Claire tells me how to do a personal brand statement. Awesome. From there, they can decide to maybe subscribe to my blog, do a free masterclass or whatever, or just leave. Whatever it is, I help them. And that's ultimately what you want to do, is that your content shows up. So you're a trusted person. And then maybe from there, they'll find you again, and they may utilize your services later down the road, or not at all, because obviously it's never a guarantee. But it's a numbers game, which is why you want to make sure that you are consistent and helping people. And having this information show up organically is ultimately going to make them trust you more than an ad and things like that, and retargeting, right? It's just, yeah, organic search, showing up in someone's feed, that kind of thing is going to make them trust you over time. It's not just like, here's an ad and I'm just going to pummel you with retargeting until you buy. It does work, but ultimately, when you show up organically, people just trust it more. All right. So you basically, once they find your information and you've helped them out, if they want to work with you, you want them to be like, you know what, this is, I'm done looking. I don't want to look for any more experts. I want to work with this person. End of story. That's ultimately what you would want. And so basically, regardless of whether you are paying attention to your personal brand or not, it exists because I can Google you. I can get a sense of you by looking at your social media accounts. I see you at a networking event. I kind of get a feeling of you, and I either like you, want to work with you, want to follow you, or I don't. And again, if you're looking for your social media presence to help you with a job, again, I either trust that you actually are an expert or I don't. And one of the biggest things that I want to mention is that if you don't have an online presence, like you literally, Google your name and you don't show up at all, that's a problem because people are going to be asking why. Because most of the time, if you Google somebody who hasn't worked on their personal brand, their Facebook profile will show up or their LinkedIn profile will show up. But if nothing shows up, they're going to ask why. Did they change their name? What's wrong? Especially if you're a job candidate, they're going to say what is wrong. So you do not ever want someone to think what's wrong when you're looking for a job, right? So it is super important that you own the narrative and that you take control of it and that you show up. And ideally, you want it to be the information that you want people to see, not just the information that is out there about you, like your Facebook profile or only your LinkedIn profile. So ultimately, you want people to see, even if it's a brochureware website where you just basically says, this is who I am, and here's my basic resume. That is you owning and taking ownership of your space. And that is so key with your personal brand. All right, so your personal brand exists, and it's either helping you or hurting you. So I'm going to give you an example. It's kind of a hard one. So that's obviously, I'm not going to use any names, but this was like a couple years ago. We actually had a realtor come up to us and wanted to work with us. And he, on his Instagram profile, said he was the realtor to CXO level execs. Just, yeah, you're like, okay, who's this guy? Then you look at his profile and he was a board short wearing surfer. That is exactly what his profile told me that he was. I never saw that he sold any real estate at all, much less real estate, multi-million-dollar real estate for a C-level execs. So that's a problem because again, your profile has to match what you're saying, who you say you are. So especially in this space, I mean, I have friends that are realtors in the Los Angeles area. So I know what a multi-million-dollar real estate agent looks like. So yeah, most people do. If they've seen $1 Million Listing Los Angeles, New York, like all those shows, we know what they look like. We know how slick they are. We know how put together they are. I'm feeling you're not that person. If I'm looking for, someone that's like this, maybe I found you, but I'm going to keep moving because nothing about you says that you are who you say you are. And I don't even want to give you a chance. So I'm really harsh. So I'm just going to leave it at that. You do not want people to get a bad impression of you if you ultimately say that you're something that it doesn't look like you are. So don't say you are what you are not. And if your profile doesn't match what you say your expertise is, fix it. Fix it. All right. So Realtor A, I'm hoping he's fixed his stuff by now, but anyway, we'll see. So basically a business or a service provider, you need to be in front of a person 7 times before they're going to actually trust you and take action. So that's just a stat across all the internet and everything. So ultimately, being on an omni-channel, multiple channels, constantly sharing great content, that is only going to help you, because people will constantly find you when they're looking for an answer to your area of expertise, and that is what you want. All right, so the most amazing thing that I think about for your personal brand is that people used to have to pay tens of thousands of dollars, like $10,000 a month. I remember my very first company, I was financial services, doing marketing, financial services in New York. And I remember our retainer for Edelman was $10,000 a month. And that's cheap. That was like the lowest possible retainer for a PR company. And they basically did hardly anything. So think about that. And you pay a PR agency and there is no guarantee that you'll get anything. There really is no ROI. But with your personal brand, there are many ways to get a return on that investment. So we're going to get to that. But think about the fact that you can actually build the narrative. Whereas before you had to beg people to write about you, to show up in the press, to have someone blog about you or anything, write an article. You don't anymore. You are in control. You are in the driver's seat to create content, create videos, have your social profiles, and you can ultimately own that first page in Google. And that is amazing. So all have times have changed. So one of the biggest things though is that there is no shortcut. There's no like magic bullet to like, oh, it's just going to work and it's going to be amazing and it's going to be so simple. You don't create one viral video and it's done. It is not that kind of a thing. You have to constantly work on your personal brand to keep it at the top of Google search. If anyone else is in the marketing realm, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Marketing, SEO, all that sort of stuff, branding. It is a long-term play and it is consistency. Consistency is key with building your personal brand. So it is one of the things that you can't take your foot off the gas. So you need to definitely figure out what you can do and take baby steps on that. So why should you work on your personal brand? Because again, as I said before, people don't buy from faceless entities. They buy from someone they trust, someone that they buy from a human. So they want to be able to trust you. So a lot of people, they don't want to do their personal brand. They feel like it's scary, it's daunting, it's going to take too much time. I don't want to brag. There's so many reasons why you may not want to do it, but there's so many reasons why it can actually help you. So if you really think about why you should work on your personal brand, a lot of people last year, unfortunately lost their jobs. And so now they're looking for a new job. Your personal brand, if you are in the job search and it's very difficult to find a job, and every time a new job posting gets listed, thousands of people apply. The people that are going to rise to the top are the ones that show up as having a great personal brand and constantly working and are showing that they are experts. So you're not just sitting there doing nothing and feeling sad. You are saying, you know what? I can't find a job, so I'm actively going to do something, and I'm going to build a blog, create videos. I'm going to do something so that it shows that I'm worthy of having a job. So I might not have a regular job, but this is my job, creating videos and being of service to people and sharing my expertise. So really think about how you could spin your personal brand to future-proof your career. So that is such an amazing way to do it, especially right now. So it's very, very timely. And so when you're thinking about what is the ROI of your personal brand, it's really going to be different for everybody. So as I mentioned, if you are looking to get another promotion or a job, you're looking to future-proof your career. You're looking to make yourself as the obvious choice candidate to get that job, to get that promotion. So that's what you're going to be doing with your personal brand. And if you are a small business owner, if you're a coach, you obviously want to show up in search, when someone is looking for help. I'm currently searching, I need help right now for this problem I'm currently having, and your piece of content, video, whatever it is, website, shows up and gives them that little, light at the end of the tunnel. It gives them the answer they're currently looking for, and they might decide to work with you. So there's so many ways to look at the ROI in your personal brand. It is unique to every person. My ROI is going to be different from yours. All of my clients' ROIs are different. So ultimately, it's kind of basically, what are your goals? And you need to build your personal brand around achieving those goals. So let me dive in and see if we have any. Ooh, we have some questions. So I'm going to dive in and we're going to answer some questions. I do have one that was asked previously on my LinkedIn. So I'm going to drink some water really quick because it's live. All right. So Dale Dupree, who I'm connected to on LinkedIn, asked me a very interesting question. Hadn't really thought about it. So he said, how about the real control on investment or the impact of your investment to others? Would love to hear your thoughts on those. So control on investment, I did have to Google this. So but by that, I believe that you're talking about how can you measure or monitor how your brand is doing? Well, your personal brand is marketing. So you're going to use marketing tools like Google Analytics. You're going to see how well your blog is doing, how your traffic is doing, what social media platforms are driving traffic to your website. You're going to look at your social media reach, your engagement. All of those things are going to help track how your personal brand is doing and ultimately your ROI. But one of the biggest things that our clients see is opportunities start coming to them. So it's ultimately one of the things that you need to track. How many opportunities was I getting before I started working, and how many opportunities am I getting now? By opportunities, I mean speaking engagements, press. There's so many private clubs and things that industry clubs and groups that you would want an invitation to, right? And they're invitation only. I'm talking about getting invitations to those types of groups, things that you would not normally, or you would aspire to be able to do, and your personal brand can open those doors. So those are ultimately the control on investment and ways that you can actually measure how your brand is doing. All right, so the next part of that question is the impact of your personal brand on others. Well, we have clients that literally do this they don't want to sell anything. They're experts in their field. They're C-level executives, C-suite execs. For instance, one of our clients is a CMO, and he in the D2C space, and he used to be a CEO in the D2C space. So he shares his expertise on D2C. And that is huge because there's a lot of people, especially now, that are having to jump into that space and they're very new to it. It doesn't make sense to it, how to do it. And our client he has all of this expertise and he is willing to share it, loves to share it. So that's ultimately how his personal brand impacts others, is that he is sharing his knowledge and they are grateful for their knowledge, even if they're not actively telling him that they're grateful for that knowledge. They are being helped by it. So that is how he's impacting others. It's by helping and being of service. So I hope that answers your question, Dale, your questions. And let me see, I've got one. So Gordon added a question here. It says, I'm going to put it here. He said, why do I care about my personal brand if I have a LinkedIn profile? Well, Gordon, basically you're kind of, as I mentioned before, you want to have an omni-channel approach to your personal brand. First and foremost, you don't own your LinkedIn profile. And, that's just, we've seen in this current space, we've seen people lose their profiles. I'm not saying you're doing any kind of stuff to lose your profile, but it is not something you own. So take that with a grain of salt. Take that for what it is. I definitely think that you need to have an omni-channel approach. And personally, I think your most important home online is going to be your website. So your LinkedIn profile is great, but your personal brand isn't just kind of this one and done kind of thing. If you just have a profile and you're not posting content, you're not posting LinkedIn Pulse. So let me give you an example. So say you have a website and you make one blog. You can take that blog and you can chop pieces of it up for your social media profiles. You can share pieces of it across your social media profiles and on LinkedIn. You can take that post, you can post it on Pulse, you can post it on Medium. Think about all the ways that you can share one piece of content and you can create a video. So ultimately, this omni-channel approach is so powerful from one blog that lives on your website, where you can ask people to follow your, to subscribe to your blog, become a follower on another social media channel. So owning a multi-channel approach is going to be much more beneficial to you than just having one social media channel. So I hope that answers your question, Gordon. All right, and let's see, Jay says, I'm very busy, so I only have time to post occasionally to one platform. Why is this a problem? Because like I mentioned with Gordon's post, Gordon's question, if you're only going to post occasionally, post on multiple channels. There's so many ways to share the same piece of content in different ways on multiple channels to try to get to multiple people. Ultimately, you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket and just focus on one social media channel. So if you are time strapped, I definitely think most of your time and effort should really go into the website that you own, and then figure out ways to piece out that content on social media. So obviously, if you are time strapped, then maybe post a blog once a month, and then split that blog into tips and ideas throughout that month on multiple social media channels where your ideal clients are currently hanging out, or your ideal people are currently hanging out. So I hope that answers your question. I have one from T. Let's see. Ooh, it's a long one. Let's see. Is it popping up? Let me go over to it. So T said, learning a lot. I'm really glad. So question for you, if I am just starting to build my personal brand, is a website with a portfolio of my work enough? Should I start a blog based on my industry knowledge? I don't really want to run multiple social media. Okay. So there are ways that your portfolio can ultimately work for you. Obviously, if you are a designer and that sort of thing, that can definitely help you. But you're going to want, ideally, especially if you're a consultant or a freelancer, you want to show up when someone's doing a search on your area. So whether it's a graphic designer or whatever, and the best way to do that is with words, because Google likes words. So a blog, or basically really working on that homepage to have all of that content that you need so it shows up in Google search. But ultimately, Google is going to reward someone that consistently puts out content. So there's so many things that I could go deep into as far as Google, but T, I hope that answers your question. It's a little bit hard, but basically the problem, so ultimately, your portfolio will be great if you're finding your leads off of another platform and you can say, hey, this is my website, look at my portfolio. But if you are looking to get leads off of Google, you are going to need to write content so that that content will show up on Google. And unfortunately, Google will, they reward you for consistency. So you'll have to consistently blog. Sorry. All right, so I hope that answered your question, T. And I think I've answered everyone's questions. So if anyone has any more questions, please drop them over into the chat. I'm really, really happy that you guys joined me. This is awesome. I hope that you found it informative. So again, basically this was talking about the ROI on your personal brand. And I'm just going to wrap up. Your ROI is going to be different depending on what your goals are. And that's ultimately it. My personal branding goals are going to be different from yours. A consultant, someone who is a VP at a financial services firm, like everyone's going to have different goals to use their personal brand to help them with those goals. So your ROI is going to be different. But the type of ROI that I see and that our clients see are speaking engagements, press opportunities, invitations to private clubs and exclusive groups in your industry, and business opportunities. So those are the type of things that you can see when you work on your personal brand. So if you are stuck and you want help with your strategy, we have a free strategy call on my website, clairebond.com, and I invite you to go set one up. And I think that I've answered everyone's questions. I'm going to go back and check the chat one more time. Yes, I did. All right. So I am going to sign off for now. I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.